Want to know how Canada's top entrepreneurs think about creating significant wealth? Join me, Thane Stenner, founder of Stenner Wealth Partners at CG Wealth Management and host of the SmartWealth podcast. Download today at iHeartRadio or your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe now. Hello, everybody. My name is Thane Stenner. I'm the founder of Stenner Wealth Partners of CG Wealth Management, and I'm also the host of the BNN Bloomberg SmartWealth podcast, which is a monthly podcast that many viewers and listeners are tuning into these days. It's been 2 years since we had our first podcast, and I'm very pleased to say that the listenership, the viewership has increased quite nicely over the last 2 years. But this is kind of a real treat for me. I get to interview various thought leaders, pioneers, business leaders, and even fashionistas in kind of what's going on in their world and their lives. So I hope you enjoyed today's session, as I know I'm going to. So I'm joined today with Jason Sarai. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. Jason and I have known each other by happenstance for over 20 years now. I'm certainly not one of his best or most well-dressed clients. But having said that, I do know that his clientele is exceptional. And today's session is going to be kind of, going from grassroots, humble beginnings back in 2014. I think, Jason, is when you started Sarai Bespoke.
Correct. Yeah, I started my bespoke line in 2014, and I started the consulting business in 2012.
Excellent. And today, Jason's kind of a key fashion lifestyle advisor to the likes of Michael Bublé and many sports entertainers, and also just business people and families. Actually, he's outfitted with a lot of style, some pretty cool people. So it's going to be a lot of fun for me to kind of interview him today. So Jason, we've got you in your Vancouver studio today, right?
Correct. We're at my Sarai Bespoke showroom here in Gastown, Vancouver, in the Dominion building, which has a lot of history as one of the heritage buildings. And at one point, it was the tallest building in the British Empire in 1906.
Interesting.
Yes.
I actually recall that story. It's very good. Well, listen, why don't you share a little bit about your bio and background to begin with before we kind of jump into more of the Q&A section?
Yes, happy to. And once again, just want to say thanks for the opportunity to be on your show and share our story with Style by Sarai and Sarai Bespoke. And it's a unique path that has led to where my company and my team and where I'm at professionally and personally today. I aspired to be a professional soccer player. That was the original aspirations and dreams when I was a child, and going into high school, whether it being with the youth national programs, having trials overseas. So that's definitely what I wanted to do. And my path kind of took different course with some knee injuries, and went to school in Pittsburgh on a soccer scholarship, finished at Simon Fraser University. And it was at that stage I had to reflect as with injuries and to focus on academics and what kind of path I would go to. And my initial career choice was to do kinesiology and either be a physiotherapist or chiropractor. And before I got into grad school, whether it be for physio or chiro, I started off in personal training, and I worked at a company, and that's where we met at Innovative Fitness many years ago. And it was my first kind of experience of working with high net worth professionals, executives, entrepreneurs, and just people that invested in lifestyle. And I share that because it ties in eventually to the work that I'm doing today. But while I was training and working at Innovative, I still had the goal of being a chiropractor, and I kept deferring that because I felt I was getting a real-time MBA through life experiences of talking to clientele and hearing their stories of success and how they approach lifestyle and families and different dynamics. So over a course of 2 years, instead of going through chiropractic or opening my own gym and going down that route, I decided to go into the world of finance. And I worked for RBC Dominion Securities and joined just before the financial crash in 2008, and did that for 5.5 years. And that was really my first time of being in the corporate profession, wearing suits for the first time on a daily. I was always into style and fashion. And it was at that point when I was investing and learning about wealth, finances, and helping people get to their financial goals and retirement planning, that I was looking for creative outlets. And I realized not everyone in life gets to do what they love. So it's sometimes finding those creative outlets to fill in those gaps. And I've always been a little bit creative in how to do things differently. So I ventured out to hosting lifestyle soirees of bringing high net worth people together. And it was an art event with music, with food, and just building a community of like-minded individuals, not knowing that eventually I would be doing and running a lifestyle business. And at that time, social media started to come to fruition with Facebook and Instagram. And my brother, who's an optometrist, and he's 4 years older in Chicago, he would always come into Vancouver and bring very little clothes, wear my clothes, take some back. And he was like, hey, I'll pay you, to go shopping for me. And I was in finance at the time, as I was mentioning. I was like, hey, like, happy to help you, but no thanks. And within that year, that was 2011, he sent me a link to a movie, and he was like, I think you should be this guy. And I watched this trailer, and the trailer had a couple that was going through some marriage issues, and there was an altercation. I had no idea what he was referring to, so I never messaged him back. But within a week of that time, a client that I actually trained at Innovative Fitness, he posted on Facebook saying, I want Ryan Gosling's entire wardrobe from this movie. So when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this was the movie my brother was referring to. And minutes within that, another friend that I trained at Innovative, his wife was like, Jason Sarai can point you in the right direction. So this was 2011. The movie was Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling. And he was a lifestyle advisor that helped people get on track within the world of fashion and style. So I put, I don't believe in coincidences. It was an opportunity. I thought this was a unique way to tap into the creative side. Did I know that it would be a full-time business? Eventually, no. So I launched the business in 2012, but it took a year to come up with the actions to eventually make it an actual consulting company and naming it. And what started as consulting eventually led to an opportunity to create my first garment line that got presented to me at a boutique in North Shore called Baracus and Brand. And the owner, Christine, presented an opportunity that many people in the world of fashion just don't get, where they get to produce a line that goes live. So when I reached out to some friends, Thane, I asked them, I was like, hey, this is the opportunity I'm presenting. And they were like, Jason, like, we've done this for 10 years in fashion. We've never had a line go live. Don't take advantage of this. Definitely put your effort, put your best effort forward and make the most of this. And that was really the beginning and the genesis of Sarai Bespoke being created, and realizing that this had more legs to it than just a passion project, that this could be a full-time business. And in 2013, I made the decision to leave finance, and I started another business, invested in another business, and started Style by Sarai essentially at the same time in 2012, 2013. And I went full-time into Sarai Bespoke in 2016, where for the last 7 years, I've been full-time in consulting and a designer on the clothing side, building this lifestyle business.
Fantastic. Well, so I gotta ask an initial question out of the gate. So you left RBC. So what did they think about your reason for departure? Just curious.
Well, in the world of finance, running two consulting businesses at the same time is not allowed, or it's frowned upon. So I'm suggesting, preserving wealth, and on the other consulting, I'm saying spend money on
And
clothes.
then
There's a little bit of a conflict of interest. But when I still remember my manager, he twisted the computer in his office and he was like, what is this website? And it was the very first Style by Sarai like landing page. It was not a pretty site. And I remember saying, I was like, it's just like an opportunity to meet, clientele that I eventually can invest for and act as their advisor. I was like, who would pay for this like as like a regular going business? And he's like, yeah, that's right. He's like, okay, this is a unique approach, no problem. So it was, I think it was supported by a lot of people that knew me because they saw that I was always into fashion and lifestyle. And it was something that I was interested and passionate about. So when I announced it on social media as a passion project, I got so much support, but I wasn't saying that I was doing this full time. But within my network within finance and my clients, it was, some people were surprised because in the world of finance, if you do something for 5 years, and in most businesses, you pass a lot of the hard challenges to stay in a business, and the success rate and failure rate, as it's really those first 5 years, a lot of people tend to leave the business.
yes.
So I asked a client of mine who was a mentor and dear friend, and that was a really big opinion that mattered, as well as my family and dear friends, was I've passed this stage in the business, but I don't love what I'm doing. I don't wake up inspired. What are your thoughts? And this was an individual that had sold his business in a very high sum in the world of mining. And you wouldn't know it based on his personality and the way he lived. He kept it very reserved. And he just asked me as a dear friend, he's like, Jason, like, how much money do you need to be happy? And it was a profound question, because investing for a lot of people made me realize there is a certain kind of amount that you need for lifestyle security, but then to put a price on, your connection and purpose, fulfillment, happiness. I was young enough to take a chance, and the worst case scenario was that I can always go back to finance. So I've always viewed a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors as I'm very fortunate to have support and opportunities. And what is the worst case scenario? That I just go back or try something else?
Yeah. So the downside didn't seem to be that big for you to kind of take the leap then, right?
No, not at all. And yet there's a bit of that. It's still nerve-wracking, and I kind of feel that's what makes life exciting, is the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've known you for over 20 years, and I've seen you evolve and grow as a person. And, I've got a big smile on my face seeing kind of to what level you've now, evolved this passion project, so to speak. But actually, it's a real company, and it's a real business that you've been growing and building kind of a global brand for yourself and for the clients that you're actually interacting with. And I've known you from day one. I remember meeting you, and you've always been authentic and very sincere in helping people. And so, from my point of view, seeing and watching from a distance, kind of as you've developed this particular career path, it seems like you're very passionate about what you're doing now. So maybe just share with our viewers and audience, what is some of the fun stuff that Jason Sarai gets to do these days?
Well, I'm very fortunate and blessed in that, like, I get to go into work excited to meet wonderful people from all facets of life. And we get to curate lifestyle experiences with like-minded individuals. And the world we live in today is so busy that I'm getting to try to facilitate and bring back this old world of slowing down and connecting, creating an experience where we're tapping into the creative, or there's multiple elements of, from the artistic to the culinary cuisine to conversation, and to do that with all walks of life, genders, ages, ethnicities, and now different perspectives from different cities of clientele that we're working with. There's a lot of fun things. So travel is definitely one of them. Hosting soirees, both big and small. We've done buyouts of dinners where, we're bringing together a clientele that is selected to put together to have conversations by design. And I think that's a privilege to be able to do something like that, because people are so selective of what they choose to purchase and where they choose to go. So the fact that we get to do that, it's truly something we cherish, and we also get to participate in. I think that's one of the things that's fun for this business, is that we built it to a place that through our partners and through the team is that we don't only facilitate and host, we get to participate and experience that with our clients.
Gotcha. So you just mentioned something there about with your clients, in essence, creating these experiences, but maybe just share some of the partnerships that you've got as to, from point of view, brands and different groups.
Yeah, in 2017, so I started my line in 2014, and I always viewed the bespoke and custom clothing line that I didn't want to be just offering garments. At some point, either the novelty wears off or there's just a lot of offerings within the world. So I realized that to expand our reach, it was to become truly a lifestyle business. And within the world of lifestyle, clothing is only one element. But there is also automotive, there's culinary, there's accommodation, whether it's like in the hospitality space, cuisine, spirits, jewelry. So it started to open up doors where we worked with different brands, whether it be from Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Aston Martin, to watch brands like Upolo and Rolex, and now jewelry lines like Bulgari. We've been an ambassador and had close relationships in the spirits of cognac with Remy Martin and Louis XIII. And have done various things within the accommodation space with hotels as well. So in doing that, it's allowed us to learn from titans within their respective realms and to understand how they run their businesses. And along that, we create content and a relationship which ultimately elevated our brand, because it became that we were a byproduct within that aspect of lifestyle. Yes. But they were familiar names, and we built just very strong relationships, but we never had something where it locked us in. That the clientele we work with is, they have the choice of selecting multiple brands. So we never wanted to just be one brand fits all. It's, here's what we appreciate about all of these brands, and if you enjoy that, doesn't mean you can't enjoy other brands in the process as well.
Got it. So that's an interesting pivot there. So are you saying that you tap into various brands from a point of view of kind of the menu, so to speak?
Yes. It's something that's evolved over the years, where we just started to get reached where people would ask our views on what was our thoughts of driving the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. What was the thoughts of driving this or wearing this? And even though it wasn't something that I owned, but the partnership and the level of trust in the relationship gave the comfort to our network and clientele to reach out to seek our advice. They would still go on to work with the professionals and salespeople within those respective brands, or we would be a conduit and connect people to be essentially middle people to, bridge that gap and help facilitate the sale or help with the custom designs. So we've been very fortunate to have access to those experiences, which could be like celebrating certain anniversaries or occasions or milestones within businesses where they're purchasing this. So to be there and help either make the connection and or help design, it's been a beautiful addition to the business. And I see that to continue to flourish, and something that we hope to expand our reach, which allows us to just understand more brands and what makes them special, but gives our clients that just sometimes don't have the time to do the research. One bit of comfort saying, okay, we have this relationship. What's your thoughts? Because we're not really connected to the sale. So it's an unbiased opinion, yet we have a relationship on another realm of lifestyle.
So in Italian terms, it's kind of like a consigliere, right?
Yes, very, very much so.
Great, everybody. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned.
Want to know how Canada's top entrepreneurs think about creating significant wealth? Join me, Thane Stenner, founder of Stenner Wealth Partners at CG Wealth Management and host of the SmartWealth podcast. Download today at iHeartRadio or your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe now. Welcome back, everybody. I'm with Jason Sarai. We're going to jump right back in. So, somebody like Michael Bublé, for an example, who's obviously a world-class entertainer and who I actually have met a couple of times myself over the years, wonderful human being. So he happens to be based, here in Lower Mainland in Vancouver, but travels globally. So just what was it like trying to satisfy what he was looking for himself, right? For his own apparel and style.
Yeah, so it was it's been just a wonderful opportunity to work with Michael Bublé and his entire team. And the opportunity presented itself actually through one of our soirees. And when I had mentioned about just bringing like-minded people together, we hosted an event in 2019 where it started at Hublot and we went to Pepino's for a dinner event. And a guest of a client turned out to be the husband of Bublé's executive assistant and stylist. And during COVID, I had an email intro from my now friend to his wife saying, there's an opportunity, don't know what can come from it, but I'll let you connect to see if, this could come to fruition.
Yeah.
So it's that invite for that event. If that didn't happen, this opportunity to even be at the potential table to work with Michael Bublé and his team wouldn't have existed.
Wow.
And when we hosted that meeting, funny story, it was a Monday, and when my daughter was born, I made a consistent effort that Mondays I would give my wife the complete day off and I would take care of my daughter, Sienna. And that was the only day that Michael Bublé's team could come into the showroom was on a Monday. So I didn't want to break my streak of taking care of my daughter just from a competitive standpoint of I wanted that Ironman streak going. So I came into the showroom. Two of my colleagues are there. I have my baby carriage, and I asked my colleague for an hour and a half, you got to walk Sienna until she, passes out because this is a rare opportunity. And I didn't want to ask for another day because they have a busy schedule. And in that conversation, it wasn't with Michael at that time. It was with his EA and stylist, and her name's Gemma, and she's just a wonderful human and has been someone that has helped facilitate this through the entire process. And we had a conversation, and it was signing an NDA. It was speaking about what he's looking for, what is the process, would it be okay for us to do all the consultations at his home? And in that conversation, it was also just chatting in the world of the sartorial space or custom clothing thing. A lot of times entertainers and performers and professional athletes either get garments gifted and or they are pulling garments to return garments for particular shoots or events. Gotcha. But being a custom business, and I feel on the world of entertainment, Michael Bublé is a global icon. And there's so much respect and awareness of his brand. And at the same time, a lot of the clientele that I work with are the who's who in their respective sectors and fields. So I never really wanted to approach the entertainment space as being that here's a complimentary suit, because I think the return as a small business isn't in the best interest, whereas big Titan brands can do that from a marketing standpoint.
Yes.
So I had brought that up. I was like, can we just speak about the pricing side? Because I'm aware of the awareness and the opportunity to work with Michael is, and where it's going to be worn and what it's being worn for. But it's also, I have to run a business, and the transparency and the communication on their side was amazing, that they fully were aware. And I was basically asking, it's like, if I was to go to a concert or to buy the music, I would be supporting him as an artist. And in return, we needed to be supported as an artist. And they were fully aware and understanding of that and very supportive. So it's been a wonderful relationship for 3 years now, where we went to his house to go through understanding what he feels strong and confident in. And he knows better than anyone else with his team what works best for him and the brand he's created and what inspired him. And how we worked with Michael is no different than we work with any of our clients, that we need to figure out what their style story is and the style that they're trying to, portray and resonate with their, audience.
Yeah.
But it all starts internally, and it's wonderful to meet someone that really gets the nuances of style, but what works best. And we as manufacturers and designers have to help facilitate that. And it's been a great journey where we've made north of 40 suits, and I don't know how many shirts we've now made, and had the privilege of also making his two sons suits at one point. And through this journey of working with Michael, it's been different styles, from his go-to two-piece suit to monochromatic colors with shirts and matching ties. And at one point, because I'm usually going through his team, there was a message. I saw a missed call on WhatsApp, and I was like, oh, this is probably a pocket dial from his team. And I was like, did I miss a call, or was this just a pocket dial? They're like, no, Michael wants to chat. And he had an idea where we get on the phone and he's like, have you seen the Elvis movie? I like the length of this, but I want to do something in his own way, where it would be a twist in his own style that is specialized and personalized for him. Would I make that for the majority of our clients? No, but I can't question, because I know he knows what he knows. And he's going to feel confident in that. And worst case scenario, we can shorten the jacket if need be. And that's been some of the nice things, where we're working with clients that are willing to push the boundaries, try something else. Worst case scenario, we can, adapt accordingly. And to see that it's being worn all over the world for his, Michael Bublé hire tour, and to be worn for bubbly commercials or for Super Bowl commercials, to get those opportunities is not common. So we definitely don't take that for granted. And what his entire team and what Michael has chosen to do to support a local company is definitely an honor and privilege.
Wow, that's a fantastic story. I'm going to quickly share two quick stories. So
yes,
on my 30th birthday in Surrey,
yes,
I had the privilege of sitting on Michael Bublé's lap as a surprise, and he sang happy birthday to me at this fundraiser that was arranged by my wife. He was 18, and it was the most embarrassing moment of my life, I have to say. Come on over here, calls me up on this 1 foot stage, literally, it was 1 foot tall, at Northview Golf and Country Club, and he says, no, come on, sit on my lap. And then he sings Marilyn Monroe style happy birthday to me. I think I've never blushed so bad as that in my whole life. But the guy is super talented and very intuitive, as you know all too well. Years later, about 10 years later, he was playing in Vancouver, and there was a VIP function. We brought some clients, and he came right up to me. He said, hey, Thane, how you doing? And I went, whoa, this is after, right? This is after the performance. But he told me how he remembered my name. His favorite golfer was Payne Stewart, who won a PGA tournament at Northview. And that's how he remembered my name that one evening when he was 18 years old. So anyway, he's a remarkable, talented person. And no surprise that you and him click as well as you do. And it's a pretty cool story. So let's
That's
move on
crazy.
to let's move on to something else here. So give me an example of what you do in a month. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business. It's a business of style, curation, curating experiences for your clientele globally. But just give the viewers and listeners, like, what how much would you be on the road, for an example, in a month, and where are you traveling to these days to kind of serve your clientele?
Yes, every month and really every week is very different, and
Yep.
it's a little bit of following the bouncing ball of where the best opportunities lie, but being mindful of the production and the consultations and fittings that happen. As our team continues to grow, we have members within the team that can host their consultations, they can do fittings, and we can do all of the back end that within the world of social media and what people view, there's a lot of things that happen that no one sees.
Yeah.
So from our tailors to ordering fabrics, logistics, alterations, it's always being mindful that that is our bread and butter, and making sure that we are delivering things in a timely manner, or sometimes for rush orders for special occasions and or events. But as we're growing and opportunities present, there's also the curveballs that happen. And in the case of last month, my wife and I got invited to one of our clients' weddings in Tokyo. So to make a garment for someone that's originally from India, he met a girl that's originally from Japan. They had approximately 10 different countries travel to Japan for this wedding, and to know that we participated in making one of the Western attire. They also had Japanese traditional attire as well as Indian attire. So 3 different outfits, get to experience a Japanese ceremony of 2 cultures coming together. In my lifetime, I don't know how many chances I'm going to get to do that, as well as travel with my wife, go to Tokyo for the first time, and get inspiration, creativity in the process. Toronto is something that I'm going to every month and a half, 2 months now. So that's going to be something that is always ongoing. So within the last month and a half, for example, I was supposed to be in Tokyo, Toronto, and then be in London last week. And my client from London, England, he lives in the countryside, but we always meet in Mayfair. He called me while I was in Toronto, and he's like, Jason, I know I mentioned we were meeting in London. I meant to say we're meeting in Vancouver. So I had a 10-day trip planned in London, but it was something that it was a little bit of change in plans, and we got to be willing to adapt. I called my wife to explain what happened and how we would just go at a later date, and she was totally understanding of that. And it ended up being where we had clients come in from LA and London to meet, host consultations here. And that's the fun part of this business, is that it is mobile and flexible enough that we can pivot and change accordingly. And in the growth of the business, there's a lot of cities and towns that we potentially can expand in, but I'm trying to be mindful of being very selective of cities and hubs that people can either travel into, so that I'm not spreading ourselves too thin, because there is a lot of moving parts. And in a given week, we have consultations, we have our individual and team meetings, we have our fittings, and then there's a big social element to this business, whether it be for coffees, meals, dinners. And all the while, a big component of this business is community. And if we get too tied up in just the garments and travel, we're missing out on bringing people together. And from a business standpoint, the ROI directly, you don't see a lot of that. But I find so much joy and pleasure in creating these kind of experiences with my team to facilitate that for our community and network, whether that be clients or friends of clients. So today, as we're chatting, like I had a call with Jura Espresso to do a coffee tasting with a bunch of their machines. Yesterday, we had a meeting with Remy Martin and Louis Trez to do a tasting of Remy XO, as well as a private dinner for Louis Trez in the new year, where everyone wears velvet jackets. And it's a curated experience. We're meshing the worlds of dressing well and enjoying lifestyle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, being educated and experiencing different facets of life. So all of this happens within a given week. And at the same time, I have a young family. So I'm always finding time to spend time with my wife and kids and do all the other aspects that go into
you
running
segued well there. And this aspect of being an entrepreneur and building a business, especially a global brand and business like what you're doing, Jason, is there would always be some push and pull and challenges with the family front. I've talked to many entrepreneurs on this podcast, very successful people over years and years, and that always seems to be one of the toughest challenges, actually. So what are some of the rules then? I've already heard one. Mondays, you try to take care of your daughter so that your wife can have a day off for sure. You got a hot streak, Ironman streak going there, hopefully. But what are some of the rules as an entrepreneur that you say, I just have to stick to these because it's the right thing for my family?
I think communication is at the forefront of everything, and getting the support. And I think by communicating, then everyone's on the same page. And it starts with yourself, it starts with your family, and then your team. So I have so much support from my wife as we started dating in January of 2013, which was essentially the very beginning of the business. So she's seen this become from a passion project to being a full-time business. And because of the pivoting and flexibility that's required, it's also that understanding of what is the vision that we're building towards. And I think that sharing those components with my family and loved ones and team has that alignment that allows that support to being like, this is for the bigger picture. And I think in order to achieve anything, you need those daily actions. So it really comes down to consistency. And it's not just consistency in one aspect of life of just business. It's also within your morning routines, your family routines, your workouts, your nutrition, and your work. So I like to knowing that the social element and the hours that I typically work when I'm in the office is really from 10 to 6:30, I would say, is the main window. So my morning routine with I have two kids. My son's now 1, and he wakes up a little bit earlier than my daughter, Sienna, who's 3.5. So I get to wake up in the morning. My mom is with us. It's my mom, myself, and my son as I feed him, get him ready before my daughter wakes up. So I'm very fortunate that I don't need to get to work at a very early hour, that I get 2.5 to 3.5 hours with my kids in the morning before drop off. And knowing that majority of nights I still get to get home before they get to bed. There's a lot of people that I work with that are still in the heart of their working hours that they don't get to see their kids as much. So I definitely don't take that for granted. And I try to maximize those times because of the fact when I do travel, there are going to be windows that I'm away from the kids. And with a young family, it's a lot of a big ask on my wife and those that are helping. It's to just build a community around that. So that's a part of my daily, is that I try to help out consistently in the pockets, and we don't work on Sundays. So that's a designated family day where I take my daughter to soccer. I'll meet up with my family. We'll bring our community and kids together, but it's a non-work day. And we also encourage that for our team, that Sundays is just not a day that we do any bespoke consultations and our meetings. so that we do prioritize that.
Excellent. So if your wife was on this interview right now, how do you think she would describe the journey in the last 10 years since you guys have been together?
I would say it's been eventful, a roller coaster, and it's been fun. We've been able to travel to Italy many times, to Tokyo, to Miami, and that was as a couple to now with our kids and bringing them along for the journey. But there's been challenges. There's been times where, yeah, when you step into COVID and our daughter's only 2 weeks old, in the world of bespoke, where you're making garments that don't exist for future events and or lifestyle or work, but the world is stopped.
Yes.
It was something that we had to, communicate and go through as a family do we become a business that we once weren't and try to be a tech business, or do we double down? And those are things that they're challenges and obstacles and struggles that I know isn't easy for my wife and someone that is entrusting that we are supporting this endeavor together.
Yeah.
And at the same time, she's there to be that push when I need it. And she knows she's a valuable part and asset to the business. And it's because she was there from the beginning, she also knows what it once was to where it is. And she's extremely supportive, and I couldn't have done it without her.
So she's got some Sarai style to her.
Yes, well, it's amazing. Whenever we were in Tokyo, we did a photo shoot together because we do women's wear as well. But anytime I do a photo with Tasha or my kids, it's always by far the most traction, most likes. And people tell me, they're like, stop photos of just you. Just have Tasha, have the kids, have your team, enough photos of you. So no, she's definitely a part of the business, and she's very much my style partner since day one.
So you're married to a Tasha?
Yes.
As am I. As am I.
Yes.
Yes. So I didn't know that. I'm learning this as we're speaking. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
She must be a great lady. And sounds like you guys are both, very strongly committed to the family values and the alignments that you're kind of talking about. We're just going to take a quick break, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Want to know how Canada's top entrepreneurs think about creating significant wealth? Join me, Thane Stenner, founder of Stenner Wealth Partners at CG Wealth Management and host of the SmartWealth podcast. Download today at iHeartRadio or your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe now.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Jason Sarai, my special guest. We're jumping right back in. So what is the vision for the business as an entrepreneur here for the next 5-10 years? Where do you see this growing? What's your Stephen Covey, futuristic vision of kind of looking back to today as to what you'd hope to accomplish over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question, and things are always changing, and it changes at such a clip that sometimes you don't put out those aspirations or goals. And for the last few years, I had started where we defined our mission and purpose and our core living values. And earlier this year, we do a team retreat with our business coach, Heinrich, and we went through a vision plan to properly articulate and connect to being like, this is where we're going as a company. And in the next 5 years, I definitely want to be go-to choices for the bespoke services within clothing and lifestyle services. So whether it's on the personal shopping, consulting to complement things that you need within one's wardrobe, or to making custom garments, and do that first and foremost within Canada. We've been in Alberta, we've been in Ontario, and we've had other clients across the country. But I like growing across the country from a time zone, same currency, and having my connection to being Canadian and being something within Vancouver. I truly believe that Vancouver is going to be already as an international hub and awareness, but I believe in the next 10 to 20 years, there's only more people that are going to fly in to experience, whether it's Whistler, culinary scene, growing architectural and art scene. But then we've seen people fly in from the West Coast of the United States, from the East Coast, internationally now from London for custom designs. So if we can create that opportunity here, we want that to be at our Vancouver showroom, but then also grow across Canada in the next 5 years and also build out as we have in the States. So I look at our expansion of our bespoke services. I don't want to limit it. Vancouver's a big enough market thing that I can grow a great business with our team, and we can do very well in this atmosphere with the clientele and the growing amount of population. But I do want different perspectives and philosophies and approaches to life. And I think the way to increase that is to also be in different cities where similar personalities and characteristics, but it's a different upbringing. It's a different pace of life. And it could be in cities that I would love to travel with my team and or family. So cities like Toronto, New York, Boston, Miami, cities within Texas or in California, and then Oregon. These are all places that I would like to visit as is. And if there's an opportunity that presents itself that's too good based on the background search of a potential client, I would be foolish not to entertain it. So growing and expanding our services. And another component is we host these private soirees where we've done overnight stays at hotels with a dinner, dressing in formal attire or casual attire, a breakfast in the morning. I want to expand these type of lifestyle experiences and soirees to be in different cities where our clients from other cities then fly in. So they're all meeting and coming together, but like anything, as you're an amazing connector and amazing at net weaving through your my experience of knowing you, Thane, is when you put people in a room together that share those uncommon commonalities, it's amazing what can come from that. And when people aren't coming with the intention to like network with some transaction, it becomes more transformational. So if I can be a facilitator of these lifestyle experiences with our clientele and with their significant others or their extended network that they feel could be contributing to these events, I think that's best of like all worlds.
It actually sounds like it. And it's, creating experiences for people at the end of the day. Those are priceless in many ways, right? You're doing things in such a way that they just wouldn't do it if it was just normally just themselves per se. So you're helping to curate that, which I think is a wonderful endeavor, Jason.
Thank you.
So as we get near to the end of this interview, anything else you'd like to kind of share with the viewers about the life of Jason in kind of your path so far? Like maybe a couple things you've learned like that really stand out, and a couple things you're still hopeful of.
Yes, I attended this conference once where a speaker just spoke about identifying and understanding your strengths and how to double down on that aspect of your life and the return that you can get in that. And I wish I had learned that earlier to really harness and focus on those, because I think in my line of work where people say it's a passion project, like passion can fade. So there has to be a level of purpose and connection and fulfillment and understanding what you're good at and really doubling down on that can really present unique opportunities and give you this level of enjoyment that I'm very fortunate to be in right now, but knowing that I can never be an expert in the world of lifestyle. Like, I'm always going to be a student. There's always going to be someone that knows it a little bit more, and that's okay. But I will constantly be evolving and growing, and that's what I'm excited about for this business and my life, is to be just a student of life and actually living and participating in what I'm trying to do this for clients, so that there is that level of authenticity that, we're trying to connect. I think on the what do people may not know about me, I always have a hard time with this. And within the world of Instagram and social media, there's that layer that you protect of not letting people fully into your life fully. And it's protecting those kind of things, but I'm pretty much an open book, and but I shared earlier that I wanted to be, a professional football player when, I grew up. So I've always had this connection to sport, and that really created this network and community that I have and fortunate to know. But I feel that my upbringing in sport really supported my understanding of camaraderie and tenacity and grit and perseverance, and that helped in allowing me to approach these entrepreneurial endeavors.
Gotcha. Well said. Just curious, do you have any sports athletes as clients these days, or?
No, at this time, we have a lot of aspiring athletes, but not no professional athletes that we are directly working with, but definitely have aspirations of some football players. I work with the NFL agent right now that has presented potential opportunities for future NFL players. I met someone in Miami that represented football players that had offered the opportunity, been reached out for potential NHL draft picks. So sometimes it's alignment and chance and opportunity.
Yeah.
But it also is something that you put it out to the universe, and you have a shared interest, and there's an end byproduct that's required in garments. I know it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
But we've been in the business for 10 years, and we've never done a cold call or reached out for anyone to become a client. And I think that's been something that, when it's meant to be and when it's meant to happen, and when you increase the odds by doing certain things to facilitate, it's only a matter of time. And I look forward to sharing with you at some point which athlete we'll be working with.
Well, it's kind of funny. The guy that's coming to my mind that would be fabulous with your outfits, and I'm sure you'd have a lot of fun with him, is The Rock.
Oh, yes. And he's very well dressed. He works with many styles, and he definitely requires custom.
Yes.
And he's just a wonderful human in terms of what he does for, social awareness, just his personality and enthusiasm for life. But when you can make a garment for the likes of someone with that frame, then essentially you can make it for
I was going to say
of life. So
exactly. Yes. Well, one last point, just on the philanthropic and community side, which I know you're a big believer in and doer in. Maybe just share some of your recent focuses in that regard.
Yes, it's been it's been many years of just seeing mentors and friends and clients lead by example, in terms of, it's not only just donating financial wealth to it, but it's actions by doing things on the compounding nature of contributing on a yearly basis, of what that impact can be. And my friend Riaz Megji and I, who's now a client, we started a not-for-profit many years ago called One Karma, with the hopes of we were getting spread thin by attending so many events, and we weren't connected to any particular event, yet we were allocating assets towards stuff. So we were like, what if we just came together and host events? So we started that in 2012, and we started with horse races, and it would go to different causes. But we started to get involved with Covenant House back in 2012 when they started their executive sleep out. And you would sleep out on the streets to raise awareness for homeless youth. And those monies would go to the wonderful services that Covenant House offers. And we had a streak between the two of us that we did it 10 years in a row. So we're very big on this like consistency and trying to get, you have a small glimpse of what many youth are going through. And that was a way for us to support the community, but also from a kind of a selfish standpoint was a reminder of how fortunate we are to have what we have.
Yes.
And to also, I would always go to work the next day. It was always on Thursday nights. I would make sure that I would go to work the next day, realizing that I wasn't at my sharpest because you're sleeping on a street, and to being that I'm going to go to a warm bed, have a warm meal, see my family. So we did that for 10 years, and it was a privilege, and we joined the executive committee for the annual sleep out. Last year, I joined the St. Paul's committee for future leaders. So we hosted our first event for the building of their new hospital.
Yes.
So being in downtown Vancouver, I wanted to take a new approach and support something that's going to be one of the leading innovation and research hubs of the world, and really provide the care and need that so many of of the population requires in BC. So in the next few years, I would love to support and continue to support St. Paul's. And we've done things where we've helped on the clothing garments, and I think that's going to be an endeavor we want to approach that we haven't fully implemented, is helping aspiring students and professionals that have paid for school and done things to put themselves in a position, but how can we help in the world of lifestyle, decorum, etiquette, and dress, so that we can be a part of their journey as they step into their workforce.
Very well said, and commend you on that, Jason. It's very good to always give back to the communities, and I know this about you already, but thanks for sharing that.
No,
so with that in mind, Jason, I know you're super busy. Probably got a few celebs contacting you as we speak. So let's wrap there, but thank you once again for being with us, and I'm sure the listenership and viewership are going to really enjoy this one. So thank you once again. Safe travels, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thanks so much, Thane.
Very welcome. Take
Enjoy
care.
the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Well, that was a great podcast interview with Jason Sarai. Really excited to have had this guest today. And please do continue to listen in on iHeartRadio or any of your favorite podcasts. Have a great day, everybody.
The comments and opinions expressed in this podcast are the results of work done by Stenner Wealth Partners. They may differ from the opinion of Canaccord Genuity Corp. and should not be considered as representative of Canaccord's beliefs, opinions, or recommendations. All views expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and do not constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities. The statements expressed herein are not intended to provide tax, legal, or financial advice, and under no circumstances should be construed as a solicitation to act as a securities broker or dealer in any jurisdiction. All views are intended for general circulation only and do not have any regard to the specific investment objectives, financial situation, or general needs of any particular person, organization, or institution. Canaccord is a member of the CIPF. The comments expressed in this podcast are the results of work done by Stenner Wealth Partners. They may differ from the opinion of Canaccord Genuity Corp. and should not be considered as representative of Canaccord's beliefs, opinions, or recommendations. All views expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and do not constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities. The statements expressed herein are not intended to provide tax, legal, or financial advice, and under no circumstances should be construed as a solicitation to act as a securities broker or dealer in any jurisdiction. All views views are intended for general circulation only and do not have any regard to the specific investment objectives, financial situation, or general needs of any particular person, organization, or institution. Canaccord is a member of